we get you in and out on time to your next event. Stand here. So stand here, yeah. So, all right. So today's workshop is it's called Purposeful Community Leadership and Organization. I'd like to go ahead and introduce the panelists. We all belong to the Walnut Hills Neighborhood Association. Walnut Hills is a community here in the city of Dayton. At the end is Mike Schommer. He is our president. Aaron Gillette is our secretary. Ben Abernathy is our treasurer. Jen Lumpkin manning the camera back there. She is our digital media manager. And my name is Shireen Abear, and I'm the vice president of the organization. This is going to be a four-part presentation. We would just ask that you keep your comments and questions to the end. We have plenty of time for some engagement amongst all of us at the end. The objective of today's workshop and presentation is to provide you with a framework within which to achieve your objectives. This framework is designed to help the individual who has no community organization within which to work, or an already established community organization or neighborhood organization. So who makes up today's panel? As I stated, we are all part of the Walnut Hills Neighborhood Association. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our neighborhood association.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much. Okay, so the Walnut Hills Neighborhood Association has been in existence for approximately 40 years. We are now a 501c3 corporation, nonprofit. We have been that way since 2001. All of us board members are volunteers. We've all been dues-paying members for at least a year before we sign up to be part of the board. We hold community meetings every month between March and December. Everyone is entitled to come, and we encourage people who are not part of our community to attend. Only dues-paying members can vote at our community meetings, and we typically, well, not typically, we always run our meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. We always have, at the very end of our meeting, an opportunity for everyone present to introduce themselves and to let everyone else know where they live and if they have any comments or suggestions or concerns. We typically have a member of the Dayton Police Department present, and that individual is part of a community response team, and they will provide our community with statistics about how our community is doing from a crime perspective, and they will take information from us if we have issues or concerns. And they have been very responsive to some of our concerns, and so it's a good partnership that we have been able to develop with the City of Dayton Police Department. We do have bylaws. They are updated periodically, and then we also engage our community using various social media platforms. We do have a Facebook page, we have a web page, and we also have a newsletter. We have over 200 members who belong to this newsletter, and we send out a newsletter every week. We call it News You Can Use. I actually run it, so what I've done is I've collected information from our Dayton Metro Parks, from the City of Dayton Downtown Partnership that often has interesting things that are going on within the city center, our libraries, and also our City of Dayton Police Department issues a report in the various jurisdictions every week that goes over all the crime statistics, whether or not they've gone up or down in the last year, people who have been arrested within the community, and other outreach initiatives that they've had. So I compile all of this weekly and send it out to members within our community, other community neighborhood organizations, like neighborhood organizations, the City of Dayton itself, like the county commissioners and county commissioners as well. So we try and encourage people to become more involved with our neighborhood through this platform as well. finally, there's also there's an app called Nextdoor. I encourage all of you to take a look at it. It allows members of your neighborhood to participate in that. We also have done in the past an every door direct mailer, an EDDM, and we have an example for you to take a look at. We mailed this out, I think it's been about 2 years, does that sound right? And to everyone within our neighborhood, just letting them know a little bit about where they were located, who we were, encouraging them to become involved in our community as well. We have put together this presentation based upon years of engaging our community, but then others as well. Some of the things that we have been able to accomplish is that every year we have an Easter egg hunt for not just our neighborhood children, but we invite everyone within the city of Dayton and beyond to come attend. We've had chili cook-offs, a neighborhood social, and we've also been able to leverage approximately $250,000 in grants and other funding to revitalize a 7-acre community park in our neighborhood. And that has been, it's been at least 10 years in the making. We just finished off with getting a county grant this year to paint a wall, to take care of some graffiti abatement, and to make our park more inviting in a particular area. And so that's just a little bit about who we are and what we've done to give you a little bit of background. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn over the next part of the presentation to Ben Abernathy. He's going to talk to you about planning with purpose. Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Thanks, Shreen. My name is Ben Abernathy, as Shreen said, and I am the Neighborhood Association treasurer, and I've been treasurer for about 4 years now. And I want to talk to you about planning with purpose. Now, if you're a new, if you're trying to start a new association, if you're trying to revitalize an existing one, or refocusing an already active one with new projects or whatever, you want to definitely start by planning with purpose. You don't want to just have meetings that, without any kind of structure. And this is especially good for revitalizing and starting new ones. You want to actually start out with a series of inclusive meetings. And by inclusive, I'm talking about giving anybody in your community that might be impacted by any decisions made by the community, also anybody that might contribute to your meeting or to your community, give them the opportunity to be present and to contribute to that. This could also, obviously everybody in your community who lives there should be included, but also you want to include people like business representatives. You want to include police, anything like that. They can help you. I mean, there's a lot of resources right there. And then another big advantage of having this inclusive meeting is it also guarantees a better cross-section of ideas, life experiences, expertise. It's amazing when you get together with people and you find out all the different ideas and ways that people think in your neighborhood and the different things that they can bring to the table. So it's more than just making everybody feel included, and valued. So once you start these inclusive meetings, you definitely want to have a structure to them. You want to have something that's you want to keep them short, to the point. Start them, I would say not more than once a month. Invite everybody in your neighborhood, and you got to realize that not everybody responds to communication the same way. Shereen talked about how we have Facebook and we have, this Nextdoor app. We found that people also still respond to printed material. So you want to use as many different forms of communication as you can so you don't leave out anybody. So when you have your first meeting, you probably want to focus on community capital. So and by community capital, what we mean is anything that's in your neighborhood that actually brings value to your neighborhood, makes your neighborhood a place that people would want to live or spend time in. Okay? That would be things like natural resources, like parks, waterways, things like that. Infrastructure, like sewage, streets, things like that. Buildings, housing market or housing assets, and of course people, professions, things like that. Actually, let me do a exercise right now. If you all, I'd like to go through, and I know a lot of these workshops, they kind of have everybody introduce themselves at the beginning, but I'd like to do this in combination with something else. And if we could go, starting here and move across, have each person stand up, identify yourself, where you're from, and then just say something positive about your neighborhood, if you would.
Yep. Hello, my name is Amanda Burhan. I'm from Dayton. I currently live in Miamisburg, and the positive thing about my neighborhood is that it's extremely diverse.
Okay.
Brian McMillan from Fort Wayne, Indiana. My neighborhood has a strong neighborhood association that keeps everything looking good and property value strong.
I'm Francine Kilgore from Residence Park in Dayton, Ohio. And our neighborhood is nice. That's a good thing.
Hi. I'm in Hampton. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. And having our neighborhood is that they've been very proactive in bringing new housing projects and homes for our community.
Hi, my name is Margaret Burnett from Columbus, Ohio, and my neighborhood, they began to come together and keep the community clean better than it was.
I don't. My neighborhood, since I moved in, crime has dropped 25%, so I'm doing okay with it.
Hi, my name is LaShannon Nunn. I'm from Peoria, Illinois, and the positive thing about my neighborhood is me.
That's good. All right.
My name is Anita Cobb from Monroe, Ohio, and the positive thing of my neighborhood, we have started back doing patrol the area to keep out all the negative crimes and things like that. So proud of our neighborhood.
Hi, my name is Vivian Harkin, I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and I'm part of our civic association, and we have a lot of community engagement in addressing issues in our neighborhood.
I'm Vivian Gentry from the Dutch Garden neighborhood of Bowling Green, Kentucky. We do have a neighborhood association. I think the nice thing about our neighborhood is we're safe.
Yeah.
You sure?
Ma'am?
Who, me? Oh, yeah. Robin Dodge, Bartley Road Neighborhood Association in Dayton. And I think the nice thing about our neighborhood association, or our neighborhood, is that we're City of Dayton, Harrison, and Butler Township that all interact to. We can't get anywhere without one of all three of them. So.
Me.
Your turn.
My name is Amy Harwell. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. And in my community, we have 5 neighborhood associations. But we also have an umbrella, which is called One Voice. And I am the president of One Voice. And we work well together in all the associations. And the best of it is to have the police department work with us day by day. And that is awesome. We have huge lunches starting in every October to February. Lunches and coffee hours set up for the police officers. And when you look outside the window, who you see? A police car. They watch the neighborhoods perfectly. So that's a very good thing, working with them in the mirror.
That's great.
My name is Regina Williams. I'm from Dayton too, and we have a great library in my neighborhood and a strong neighborhood association.
My name is Dakota Caldwell. I'm from Bowling Green, Kentucky. This is just something I guess related to Bowling Green in general. It has a very large refugee population, and there are a lot of nonprofits started among the refugee populations to help with like legal or language assistance, and it's pretty incredible.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Webster. I'm from Fairborn, Ohio. We're a fairly small community. I live in the historic district where nobody wants to move. Everybody's been there forever and they plan to stay forever.
I know that.
But what I like about my community, it's seen some hard times, and there's a lot of real passion for revitalization and community development, which is bringing in new money, which is kind of revitalizing everybody's spirit, which has been really good.
Over here at the table.
My name is Abby Burry. I'm from Dayton, Ohio, resident park community. And with all the Trump and the police running up and down the street, we have some pretty good, obedient children in our neighborhood.
I'm Brad Berry from Decatur, Illinois, secretary of our neighborhood group, Nelson Lyons Park, and also on the Kona board. Park District is developing a water park in our neighborhood. It's a lakeside park, very large one. And also, they're building a new amphitheater down by the lake, which is made possible by a grant from, say, a local guy who has poured millions of dollars into the city, which is always a great thing to have. We try to keep upbeat and always strive to better our neighborhood.
I'm Gwen Lee from Dayton, Ohio, and our neighborhood right now is very good. We got the police working with us because most of us have gotten older and been on the street a long time. But we have the police coming to our meeting the second Monday of the month, telling us what our complaints are. We're now in the process of trying to put flyers on business streets. I'm going to meet with some president of the bank to see what we can do to make it look better and maybe keep some of the people off of the street. But otherwise, very good neighborhood, very good street. And like I said, we work with the police. What do you?
Hello, my name is Lily Banner. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and I'm co-chair of a civic group, and I'm also Columbus Southside Area Commission representative for the civic. And in my neighborhood, we have a lot of houses that being built, Habitat, NRP, and we have housing for 2 senior houses group. We have one built, phase 2 is being built, second one on the way, and another group of men that's kind of down on their luck. They're moving from a 29 unit to a 65 unit when it starts get built, but it is on the way. And we have concerts in the park for during summertime called Fat Tuesday, and we have a nice time doing National Night Out once a year and first Tuesday in August. So that is a very good representative of Brevo's exhibit, and I'm a part of that group.
My name is Beverly Williams, and I also am from Dayton, Ohio. And what I really like about living in Dayton is the fact that I work with child evangelism, and we are allowed to go into the schools to have Bible study with the children, which is very important to raise them that next generation to know the Lord. And so that's what I'm really happy about.
Hi, my name is Horace Arnold, and I live in the city of Dayton. Been here, my family's been in Dayton for about 75 years. So I live in the Hillview neighborhood right up here off Main Street, and which would be like Hillcrest area. And what I like about the neighborhood is that there are a lot of stable families in the neighborhood. Second thing is close to all of the parks along the river and downtown.
I'm Lena Arnold, also live in Hillview. What I like about our neighborhood, we have a strong leadership, neighborhood leadership group and organization, so I'm really happy about that.
My name is Francie Johnson. I'm from Decatur, Illinois, and one of the positive things in our neighborhood is we've been together and organized for over 20 years. And the guy that won the Stella Stewart Award, he's our president.
Wonderful.
My name is John Ruffin, and I'm from the great city of Champaign, Illinois. And I am the neighborhood coordinator for the city and responsible for organizing and engaging 57 registered neighborhood groups throughout the city. And the one thing, I'm going to speak collectively for the city. The one thing I'm proud about our community and our city is that we really have put a lot of stock and energy and investment in neighborhood engagement and organizing, which leads to a strong, vibrant economy for the city.
Excellent, thank you. Ma'am? On the back.
I'll just stay setting till I stand up while I lose time. My name is Van White, and I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I live in an old historic firehouse across from Indiana Tech that has just invested greatly along with the city. And so I see my neighborhood as a neighborhood of great opportunity. There's very few businesses there, and so to find creative ways to bring business back is just great opportunity.
My name is Kamara Willoughby. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and a good thing about our neighborhood is our community center.
Good afternoon. My name is Palermo Galindo, the community liaison for the city of Fort Wayne. And what I'm really proud about the city is there's a lot of great momentum happening in our communities, and the city is just getting noticed a lot throughout the region. So there's a lot of good things happening, and I'm going to get this information and pass it on to our neighborhoods.
Margaret Smith. I'm in the Edgemont area, and we are also in the process of revitalizing our nonprofit. Our greatest asset is the Solar Garden, and those in Dayton know that the new market that's going to be built, we're hoping to be part of giving them a vegetable, furnishing them with vegetables to resell. My goal in the neighborhood is making ambassadors of the children. So I have them here with me at the convention, and their duties are to take care of their neighborhood. That poor corner, depending on the age, younger ones just have in front of their houses to help with the litter. Our philosophy is if we teach them what was taught to us, then we'll have positive leaders. And it takes the whole community, Peoria, Illinois, Chicago, wherever. We all have to do this together. So it's just a blessing to be part of the revitalization of Edgemont, and you're going to see some good things come out of it.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Allison Shinto. I live in the San Angelo Historic District, which is in Dayton, Ohio. Awesome thing about my neighborhood is the community, the neighbors that we have. We have monthly meetings where we conduct our general business, but we have socials every month, and each month has a theme. This month is the chili cook-off, so if you have a pot of chili, Walnut Hills, that you want to bring it. You don't have to worry about hosting next year. It's always, the same family hosts that one every year, but each month has a different theme. Because our neighborhood is so great, we have such a great sense of community, we have some businesses that have moved into the neighborhood. Fifth Street Brew Pub, which is a cooperative brewery.
Member.
On the board there, apparently. So it's a great place, brings a lot of people in. A lot of people moved into the neighborhood because of it. And then we have Gem City Cafe, which is a cat lounge, coffee place, which is another great place for not only coffee, but some kitty snuggles and to have meetings. And then we have another bakery that's scheduled to open this fall. So people are like it downtown.
I'm Rosie Miller, president of the Huffman Historic Neighborhood Association. Our neighborhood is adjacent to them, and I have to say that's one of the real positives for us, because we're seeing a real, and what Mayor Whaley spoke about, you know, reestablishing downtown. We're seeing a big influx in real estate sales, both finished houses and people coming in to rehab. We've had 3 new neighbors from the suburbs coming in on purpose to some of our worst streets to get them rehab. And the other big thing about that is in the last 4 years, the people who've been coming in are people with children, which has not been the case for a many number of years, and now we're getting lots of families. And so that's creating a whole different feel for the neighborhood.
All right. Sorry that took a while. What I wanted you guys to see is, and hear, are a lot of different ideas to kind of inspire you what that definition of community capital might be. Okay, and then if you notice in your handout, this one here, on the back there's 3 columns, and if you would, why don't you write down your as many things as you can think of for about 60 seconds of community capital that exists in your neighborhood. Now, when you have your first meeting with your neighborhood association or organization to talk about community capital, this is an exercise you probably want to start with anyone who attends the meeting. You know, here in Dayton, we have, you know, just for Walnut Hills, and give you some examples. You know, we have, as we talked about, a wonderful city park, huge, it's beautiful, great view of the downtown. That's something that we've talked to people, and they've moved to our community because of that park. You know, so that's something that draws people here. You have a voice with the city, with the community liaisons. If you live in a community that has something like that, that is capital. That is something that, you know, might attract people to your place. If you have, you know, a huge collection of historic homes, you know, that's something that's going to draw people there. You know, if you have a very strong neighborhood association, that is capital. All right. So moving on, that's community capital. Next thing I want to talk about is community resources. This is a little bit different. Community resources are things that are available to you as a community to use to make your community better. Okay, so community capital is something that's already exists there. Community resources is something that's available to you. Your second meeting should then revolve around that. You want to recap your community capital, gather all those ideas together, pull them together so you have a good, clear picture of what you're working with. You know, this is a great opportunity to remind the residents of your community of what a great place that you live in. You know, some of them may not even be thinking of these things. So show them, look, this is all the stuff that you guys came up with. This is what's great about it. Now let's, you know, before we start thinking about all the things we want fixed, let's see where we can get help from and what things are available to us to start working on that, and that's community resources. You know, so community resources can be, you know, obviously your local city government, your county government. They often have funds, you know, as far as grants, things like that. You're probably all aware of items like that. But also, you know, you have clubs, you know, you have churches, you have schools, you have people that want to volunteer and do stuff. They probably just need a project, you know. So things like that. You want to keep those kind of things in mind. You have, you know, you have things like juvenile restitution programs. You know, these are all things that it's a negative that can be put to use as a positive. So also, then please at this time take 60 seconds and start listing some community resources that you have. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. Because of that status, and that may not always be the right move for every community organization. So, you know, you want to actually consider the pros and cons of getting incorporated. But, and if you want to talk to me about it afterwards, I can kind of help you with that. But as a 501c3, we were able to enroll in certain corporation rewards programs, like Kroger Community Rewards. And Amazon Smart, it's another one. And this generates regular income for us as a neighborhood association. just based on people who live there and have chosen that, that charity to contribute to. And and with that, I mean, we've been able to do a lot of wonderful things with that kind of money. We've been able to do like park projects with community engagement grants. We've been able to, with beautification grants. We've been able to do this mailer with a community engagement grant from the city. So it's those are all resources. We, you know, now community resources can also be, can also create community capital. So having, like, for instance, having a member of your community belonging to, in which we have 2 members of our association who belong to a land use committee, the City of Dayton Land Use and Zoning Appeals Committee. So they, we have a voice then with the city and can, you know, have input on decisions that, you know, as far as like approving liquor licenses and things like that in our community, and we can kind of steer things that way. So that then becomes capital, having that presence. The you know, our City of Dayton has a code enforcement reporting app. So people can go on and report, you know, zoning or housing issues. And just having that there, you know, that's a resource. But we push it out as our community in our neighborhood meetings, encourage people to use it, and then, you know, it becomes capital, because then we end up, the result, we end up with a cleaner, you know, nicer neighborhood, makes people want to move there. So it's turned it into capital. Community capital can also be used to, can be turned into community resources. So community capital example, we have some major universities near us. University of Dayton. We've worked with University of Dayton, the Fitz Center for Leadership. They have civic scholars and these River Steward student groups, working with them to create these on different projects like our park rehab. You know, we've turned that resource into capital. So anyway, so let's to review. We've got capital. Community capital are things that make people want to move to your neighborhood. Community resources are things that you can use to make your neighborhood better. And now I'm going to turn this over to Karen, who's going to talk about negative capital and make decisions with strength.
All right, now that we've gotten through all the rosy things, now it's time to get kind of dark, unfortunately. Now we're going to be talking about negative community capital, things such as, you know, maybe your neighborhood has poorly draining sewage along the roads, you know, drainage on the roads and stuff like that, or say you have homes that are attracting crime, or businesses that are attracting crime, or a wide number of those sorts of things. So, just like your other list, we have also on your back of your worksheet there a place to fill out things that you see as negative capital in your neighborhood. So if you could, we have examples on the front. So if you want to take a look at those, you can do that as well. But ultimately, just, you know, take a little bit of time, look into this, look into the resources you have there. Try to keep it in a positive light, though. You need to be able to bring it back and inform it with the other lists later on.
Would you say legalizing marijuana would be negative? Legalizing marijuana, would that be negative and
That would depend on what you think it would, whether it would have a positive or negative effect on your community.
I know, yeah, because you don't have
That might vary neighborhood to neighborhood.
Yeah, because
No, because if you know what way marijuana is really grown, it's negative.
But then you don't have a crime or go on sneak and buying it, it'd be
Well,
legalized.
this is actually a good topic. Every community is going to be neighborhood specific.
Right.
So if you think it would be negative for your neighborhood, it would be. If it's going to be positive, It could be, it could be different.
So
make
just
the
think
list
about it
based on
specific
what
to
your
your
own
thing.
neighborhoods. We're not trying to get into a giant discussion over what should or shouldn't be legalized. Our primary goal is to help you build a better plan for your neighborhood. That may not necessarily be what your neighborhood needs. Maybe their neighborhood does. Maybe their neighborhood doesn't.
Yesterday having prostitutes on the corner, they're going inside of the house now. They have a house for it now, inside flowers.
All right. Now, if you have that list, you should be able to bring that back into context with the more positive things on your other lists. So as a result, you'll be able to take the community capital that you have there and the, what was the first word?
Community resources.
Community resources, and be able to tie them together with each other to inform, say you have a church that's got a lot of resources, it helps you work with one of the other negative resources, etc. You can then use that to formulate a proper plan for an attack strategy or a strategic methodology of coming towards these challenges that you're seeing and being able to make it a positive rather than a negative. The ultimate goal of any community organization should be to do that. And when you make those kinds of decisions, you can make big changes. And for the rest of that, I will turn it over to President Hatch.
Thank you, Aaron. I want to thank you all for coming today again, as we all have, because we really do appreciate your time and your choice and your commitment to be leaders in your community. Ben and Aaron have given you the tools and instructions on how to lead your community forward with purposeful, focused discussion. But now it's time to think implementation, right? Because that's really what we all is about. How are we going to implement? How are you going to go from those lists to reality? On those forms in front of you, please locate the section titled Driving Community Momentum. It's the right-hand side, and you can kind of follow along with me. It's on the, we handed you the sheets that we handed you as the very front sheet. It's right there in front of you. It says Driving Community Momentum. I'm going to be referring to that ideology of strategic planning as I speak, and I'm going to go into a little bit more definitive explanation. It's right there on the front, the right-hand side of your sheet, the right-hand column, the right-hand column. Driving Community Momentum. You'll notice at the top of that, Driving Community Momentum, there's a note right underneath of it that says, this program is best implemented in a neighborhood association or community group. If a group does not exist, that should be the first goal, because this is all about strategies and goals, okay? This is important because you're not going to be able to drive community momentum if there's no one to drive momentum with. If you're the only community member there, you first have got to get a couple more neighbors to at least join the conversation. Shireen shared in her introduction today how this program is for anyone or group, no matter the state of your community. Well, I'm going to explain how this framework works for everyone. If you live in a community that has no neighborhood association or community group, well, forming a neighborhood association is the strategic plan. And yourself and whatever other neighbors you can bring aboard are now need to come up with the tactical goals. These are smaller happenings around forming a neighborhood association, bringing more neighbors to the conversation. This community is now a goal-driven group, and you'll see that on there in Driving Community Momentum, with a strategic plan to form a neighborhood association, okay? Because if you don't have a plan, you can't move forward. On the opposite end, your neighborhood has a long-standing association who is active and has completed much over the years, but is now on auto drive. You know, you really don't know which direction you're heading. This type neighborhood needs to start with planning with purpose, as Ben spelled out. Organize a series of inclusive meetings, bringing as many as your community to the conversation as possible by letting them know that community capital, resources, and negative community capital will be assessed, and a new strategic plan for the community will be developed, guided by these conversations. Lastly, anyone here that is a part of a neighborhood association that is somewhere in between these two extremes, which is me, which is probably most of us, this is the tool also to move you forward by starting with planning with purpose, having those meaningful discussions, and following the framework provided. For the rest of the presentation, okay, I'm going to speak as if we're all part of a neighborhood association.